We're on time.
Perfect.
And we're live.
With all of our followers?
Yep. Welcome to Business Can Be Better podcast, episode 13. Wow. I know. We've been doing well. That's over a dozen.
Huh.
Imagine. It's like we're sticking to it.
Well, see, I'm so unprepared now. I'm nervous. We were just talking
like,
about...
What should we talk
He's like,
about?
are you ready? I'm like, no, but let's go. We're being authentic here. No, but we've talked about this a few times, but there are a lot of people I think if I had to do a podcast with every week, especially live, and, you know, that I might get a little... Why did I do this?
Why
like,
am
oh,
I
man.
doing this with this person?
I'm pretty sure we have like a verbal contract to do this for the rest of our lives. Forever. But yeah, because you're so good at communicating, I think we've been having a good time.
Yeah.
I annoy you, you tell me, you piss me off, I tell you, then we make nice.
It's all good.
Ouch.
Yeah, so this episode 13, we're talking about how to beat stress. How to beat stress and how to not feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, or at least reduce them.
Okay, you can't quite eliminate.
Well, I forgot when I was planning this that I don't have any kids.
Okay.
And a lot of you guys have kids.
That's a pretty large source of stress.
Probably just a little bit, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, am I shaking the table again?
It's okay.
Trying to
they
do
can
that
come
this
along
week.
for the ride and watch the camera wobble.
Take some gravel before you watch this.
Motion sickness. But what's new with you?
I just told you I wasn't ready.
Sorry,
We've had my husband's family, he's had some deaths in the family, and his uncle had a heart attack last night, and so my husband's up in Calgary right now with him, so that's all I could really think of when I was trying to think of what's new, but it's not very...
Sorry to hear that.
So you
That's
go
not
first.
A very upbeat way to start.
Yeah. Do you have any happy news?
Do I have happy news? Yeah, I guess. It was a long weekend it was Thanksgiving in Canada, obviously. So we went up to Edmonton for the weekend and went and watched Muscle Beach, a bodybuilding show, because that's my wife's world, and we went and checked that out. And she knew a guy here from Lethbridge that was competing, so we went up and supported him. She'd coached him earlier in the year when he was doing more of a powerlifting competition, and he broke some huge records and did really well. But now he's doing more of the aesthetic side of things with the bodybuilding, and he did well there too. Actually, his very first show, and he got 4th in novice and 4th in his height class as well. So
anyone I know?
I don't think so. He's a personal trainer at a gym here in town, the one my wife used to work at, if that helps you piece it together. But yeah, we went up and did that, which is always a fun experience. I am not someone who ever thought I would be watching a bodybuilding show, but it is really something to see.
Actually, I saw your story and I was like, what? So I clicked on it. And now you have a sore shoulder? What's that about?
I did go to the gym last night, so maybe it could be contributed to that.
Yeah. Or watching fitness
Or watching other people flex.
Cheering very hard.
Yeah, because no one else was. Like, I've been to other bodybuilding shows, mostly Calgary ones, in different federations, and everyone's cheering and going nuts. And this one was very, like, somber. And there's like 100 people in the crowd or more probably, and someone would come up and like they announce their name and no one does anything, so I was clapping.
Good for you.
I was the only one.
You know, actually, I'm trying to write something down right now because you reminded me cheering helps with stress and overwhelm.
Yeah.
But there was something else. What did you say before cheering? Oh, laugh.
So that's what's new. We went to that, and my wife starts prep for her next show right away here. So our life changes a little with more gym time and more food prep. And I eat more cookies.
Do you eat healthy with her?
Ish.
I remember I used to try and diet, and Tim would just eat cookies.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So I just don't diet anymore.
That's a great solution to that. I think that's a great answer to that problem.
But Joss, you're amazing. The willpower to look like that, to eat those certain foods, like what we were just talking about, that one lady you were saying eat only meat for like 4 weeks.
Yeah, just chicken breast for 4 weeks.
Sound appetizing to me.
Nothing else.
I have a friend named Neil Barry who's a meatitarian.
A meatitarian.
That's all he eats.
And he eats more enough for both of you since you eat none of it.
Seriously. And we actually love each other very much. Otherwise, I think we could get into a real big fight. But yeah, I don't eat any animal products, and he eats only animal products.
He eats all of them.
And he truly believes that if everyone ate all meat, we would all be healthy and there would be like
Wow.
less diseases and everything.
I feel like
And I'm like, I feel like if we were all
nutritionists
vegan,
might-
maybe. Yeah, no.
might disagree.
I try not to get in that fight, so I just eat what I want and people can eat what they want.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's great.
So did I get to skip the ketchup or the what's?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Sure. So let's jump into how to avoid stress, beat stress, avoid feeling overwhelmed as much as possible. And I am 100% here to learn today.
Which
Because
is
I'm not.
killing me.
I don't feel like I have
because-
answers to this at all.
Well, I kind of thought you would participate in this, and then earlier,
I'll see if I can jump in.
I think it was right before I went on to my live call that I did at 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
which ended at 6 o'clock, 21 minutes ago. Good job getting over here. Thank you.
And
thank
we're on
you.
time today.
On time. So right before I went on that live call, I had to go to Facebook to go live, and I noticed I had notifications, and one was from you, and I was like, uh-oh, what did this smart Alex say today? So I clicked on it, and there was like 100 people on this thread, and you were talking about how to manage everything in your life, including kids. Some very funny comments on there. I think one of the tasks was have the kids not kill each other when unattended. Yes.
That's a big part of being a parent, is stopping murder from happening in your home. It's like they'll be in our room watching something, and I'm in there, I'm folding laundry or something, and then they're watching, and I'm there, I'm present, and I walk out of the room, and I'm literally 3 steps away, and I start hearing screaming because someone hit someone, and I come back in the room, and I'm like, guys, I literally left for 2 seconds. I'm 3 steps from the door, and you're already fighting. Like,
they look so sweet.
oh my, yeah, that's the biggest deception of every child. They all look so sweet, and they're little demons.
I remember when we were kids trying to kill my brothers, actually.
Yeah.
I remember unbuckling them.
In the car, like legitimately trying to kill them.
Well, I didn't crash the car, but I would unbuckle them and scream, "Mom, Chris is unbuckled!" And then once my mom slammed on the brakes in the minivan, and my brother flew right into the front seat and hit his face in the dash. Oh, good times. Hopefully my brothers don't watch this.
This is so on topic.
Oh, topic.
I
Stress,
enjoy
overwhelm. Okay. So, here's what I have.
Okay.
I'm not just going to list them. We'll talk about them each
I'm
one.
just going to read from our phone tonight.
Sorry, I'm having trouble focusing. It's
That's
like
good.
so sad when people get sick or pass away. And it really reminds me that we don't have that much time, you know?
Yeah.
And we really need to enjoy it. So actually, this is a good segue.
It is a good
I feel
topic.
like patting myself on the back again.
Everything's coming together.
So yeah, because we might only have today or this week or this month, we need to not be super stressed and overwhelmed all the time, because that's not really a fun way to live. I didn't have time to eat today. Did you hear that? I hope the mic didn't pick that up.
I didn't, so I
My
don't
stomach
think the
is
mic
growling. So you know I love my calendar, so I had to put that on here.
Right.
One of the ways, and now I don't have any kids, but I do have a couple businesses, and I do prioritize fitness, and we do try to pre-cook all our meals so we can be somewhat healthy. And I clean my own house, although I'm debating with that right now.
Yeah, me too.
And, you know, make time for families and friends. And I play, you know, a bunch of different sports. So we have a full life. But one of the ways that I really, really, really like to do is use my calendar, because then I don't let anybody down. Like if I tell you I'll be here for a podcast, it goes on my calendar. And that's the same calendar that when my mom asks me if we can have dinner on Sunday nights, I look at my calendar, you know? And I think some people will have like a home calendar where they have like their kids' activities, and then they'll have a work calendar where they might have it at work. And to me, I just like to keep everything on one calendar.
Right.
I think that helps me a lot.
I think that makes sense. You're one person. You only
One
still
day.
only have 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Having 2 calendars doesn't mean you get 2 24-hour days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it all has to fit into one. I agree for sure. If something is in the calendar, then that's how you can make sure that, like you say, you don't let them down. You're going to be there. But I think what's hardest is finding time for the things that aren't, like, no one else is relying on you, like folding your laundry. Does that go in your calendar?
You know, I really toyed with, I don't know if you've ever tried a laundry service, but
No.
there are actually these people, I want to say it's called laundry bags, but in Lethbridge there's a service where they give you the bags. They're just like these big reusable like cloth bags, and you just put your dirty laundry in it, literally leave it on your step, and they bring it back folded and clean. So there's that. But I think it's a matter of, we're never going to get everything done. So what I like about the calendar also is that if it's one of your most valuable activities or like one of the most important activities to you, like let's say you have daddy-daughter time. I know some of my clients or friends have that, right?
Yeah.
They have like a weekly standing sort of date with each of their kids.
Mm-hmm.
That should go in your calendar, and that should have like its protected time, because then other things have to fill in around it, right? And if you don't have time for laundry or you don't have time for cooking, then you hire that stuff out. If you can afford it.
Right.
And you can afford it if you run a good business.
Right.
So it all kind of ties together, right? But the other thing about the calendar is if you are going to start using your calendar, a lot of my clients, I'm so adamant that they use their calendar that most of them try to do it, at least try. But sometimes what they end up doing is they're kind of like an overachiever, sort of keener nerd like me, so they're like everything in the calendar,
right?
Like, and they fill up their day from like wake up till bedtime, and they don't leave any space. They don't leave anything for things that just happen to come up. They don't leave, even for me, I usually forget to leave time to eat or travel time. You know, even today actually, my live call was booked till 6 and I was supposed to be here at 6. That won't happen again, but you know, things like that. So if you're going to use your calendar, I say put everything in it. Start by putting in the big rocks, like the things that you really want to do that are really important to you. And then let everything else fill in around it. And you can kind of use that. Part of another thing I have on here is you have to say no to things, you know? And I think your calendar is really good for that. Because most people, and me included, I love to make people happy. So if you're like, Kelly, could you please help me with this one thing every week for an hour on Wednesday at 4? I would really want to help you. But if I looked at my calendar, I would see that there's no way I could be here every Wednesday at 4. You know? Did you hear that one?
No.
Do you have any food in this place? Do you have any vegan food?
We do. We have pistachios downstairs.
And your cream in the bathroom is vegan.
Oh, yeah.
Sidetrack.
It's from...
Sorry. Okay, calendar. Do you have anything you want to say about the calendar? Do you use your calendar, Lane?
Yeah, for when other people rely on me being somewhere or something really needs to get done.
Okay, wait. For other people relying on you, or if it needs to get done?
Well, no, but basically if someone else relies on me being somewhere at a certain time, it needs to be in my calendar. So if there's an appointment with one of my kids, or I'm meeting with a client, or having a catch up with staff, whatever, all those things go in the calendar for sure.
Because they are important. Why?
Well, because those I can't mess up because someone else is dependent on me.
I think a lot of people do what you're saying.
Right. Just putting the things in that someone else, like it's with someone else. Yeah, that's all that goes into my calendar.
Because you can't forget those.
No, you can't. Those are like the most important, because if you don't show up, it messes up someone else's schedule. So, but folding my laundry is not in my calendar.
No. What are some things that are really important to you that you don't have time for?
Oh.
I think if I pull your Facebook post here, I think you listed
Yeah. So if you look at a list of like everything that needs to be done in my life, all of those things are important, and I don't have time to do all of them. So I don't know. How do you decide which ones are the ones you don't have time for? I don't have time for all of them. So sometimes some of them get done and sometimes they don't.
So
sometimes the floor is not swept. And we're going to wait till tomorrow to do that.
Like my husband, he just runs the vacuum through like the middle of every room.
Yeah.
Babe, I vacuumed.
Yeah.
It's clean.
It's fine.
The worst is when I come home and I'm like, this house is so messy. He's like, are you serious? I just cleaned the whole house.
The whole house in 15
Sorry, babe.
minutes.
Your standards are a little different than mine.
Right. So there's lots of things that are very important that I don't have time for.
Someone very smart once told me that if you want to see someone's real priorities, you look at their bank account. So you look where they spend their money, and you look at their calendar.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that your podcast is really important, but you're never spending any time preparing for it, or you don't show up to the podcast appointments half the time. That was a terrible example. Let's say you say that your marriage is important, and you never spend money on dates, or you never spend money on like courses about having a good relationship, or you never spend money on things like that help your relationship get better. And when you look at your calendar, you don't have like date night or like family time or whatever it is that would make your relationship good, then I would argue that you're not being authentic, or you're not like being true to what's important to you.
Okay.
So that's where I would start. I would take your whole list of things and then just say what's most important to me and put those in the calendar. And then the things that you don't have time for, sub them out. Hire a house cleaner or a get someone to do your laundry, or aren't your kids old enough to do
They're getting
free
there.
labor?
Starting to, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Our big snowfall, my daughter was helping out there with the shovel.
Wow, that was heavy.
Yeah, I don't think that will still be happening by June, or
Yeah.
by January.
Oh, okay.
I think that's a first snowfall of the year excitement thing that will not last. But
Is there allowance attached to it?
we've been working on that. The other night she got 50 cents for giving me a back massage. So
How long is this back massage?
like
It's illegal.
6 minutes.
It's far below
I
minimum
talked her
wage.
down from $1,000 though. She was very negotiable.
Oh,
It went from $1,000
have
to
a talk
50
with her.
cents.
be the best, charge
I'm
the
reading a
most.
book on negotiation right now. It's obviously
Oh,
working.
She's in big trouble. Obviously working. How old is she?
8.
Oh, good
Or she'll
job.
be 8
Being
next
an
week.
8-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay, so did that answer your question?
I guess.
Because I don't remember the question.
But so if I was to put everything important in my calendar, that would be a calendar that's full from the moment I wake up till the time I go to bed. Because if I wanted to fill my day with only important things, I could.
But because you're a business owner, if you're very systemized and you have all your procedures done and all your systems working and everything is automated and everyone does their job perfectly, I would say that there's still going to be, an hour or two a day where things come up.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say one of your kids gets sick and needs you, or there's a leak in the roof, or, things like that. I still think even if you're the most organized, systemized, procedurized, that's not a word, but I'm making it one, person, you still have to have a little bit of free time in your day. And I usually fail at this. I'm like, sure, I can fit it in. Sure, I can fit it in.
Right.
I didn't even have time to pee today.
Yeah.
So that's not good.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to the saying no thing.
So that's why the calendar idea is tough for me, because I'll put in the things that someone else depends on me being there. And then my family knows that I'm going to be working from 9 to 5. And on Tuesday nights like tonight, it's 9 till about midnight. But they know when I need to be working. And then the rest of the time doesn't go in my calendar because it's kind of based on what the needs are. Like, am I going to make it home in time to cook dinner? Or should we just order something? Or can we eat leftovers? Like, I don't really need to put that stuff, or I don't think I should be putting that in the calendar as far as like, no, make sure you cook dinner and put this time in to clean up dinner.
Do you cook dinner?
Yeah.
Do you clean up dinner?
Yeah.
Is Jocelyn out there? Can I get a comment?
We both do.
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I hear you saying that, but if I was a parent, I think I would have that stuff in there just because for me, I forget things if they're not on my calendar.
Oh, I won't. I don't run out of things to get done. I
I
won't
know.
forget anything that needs to get done, because you're gonna get to the end of the day, even if you procedurize and put everything in a calendar, and not have enough hours to get everything done. So you don't get the floor swept today. So tomorrow, let's sweep the floor and not wash tonight's dishes, and you have to just decide which tasks you're gonna get done, because there will be no. You can't just fit everything into the calendar. You have 40 hours of tasks to fit into a 24-hour window. So when you put it into a calendar, it actually removes flexibility of trying to wedge it in.
Oh, I have an answer for this.
Okay.
So in my calendar, we use different colors.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's probably like, oh man, you're such a nerd. But there's certain colors like this one.
You had colored
non-negotiable
highlighters and markers in school too, didn't you?
Oh,
Different
yes.
notes
All
and
the
different colors.
Oh yeah, still do that in my books. So there are certain things like podcast, we're live at 6:15. That's not negotiable.
Yeah,
I have to be here. Meetings with clients,
Mm-hmm.
live classes, Rotary. Like I can't
Right.
change the time of Rotary. Those go in a certain color.
Right.
But if it's something like prepare for the podcast or prepare for next week's podcast or work on the book, I'm working on another book, or what else am I? Oh, write curriculum for the new courses.
Yeah.
If I know I have time and it doesn't have to be done that day, we just leave it in the default color, like teal or whatever the Google Calendar is. So then Laura and I both know that when we're looking at my calendar, those things can be moved if they have to.
Yeah.
But again, I don't have kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I do definitely recognize that there's a large amount of time and stress and overwhelm that could come from kids. That said, I work with pretty much exclusively parents, so I do deal with it a lot of the time. And I think because you said it, you don't have enough time to do absolutely everything that you'd like to do. One, start with your most important activities and get those in your calendar and protect that time. Like if it's daddy-daughter time, protect that like you protect your client meeting time. And then all the stuff that you can't get done, I mean, delegate it or be okay that you don't get it done.
Yeah.
Because I think the stress comes from, or the overwhelm comes from, and I'm so guilty of this, I feel anxious because I didn't get my house cleaned and my clients happy and my this and my that and my workout and my food prep. And it's like, my husband's like, who cares? Like, let it go. You know, he's very good for me in that sense. He doesn't stress about much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess you just have to be okay with it.
You just have to be. You just have to lower your standards on how much you get done.
I guess, yeah.
You have to be okay.
I prefer to sub everything out.
Where you'd rather
clean house all the time.
Yeah. Go enjoy your Saturday afternoon with the kids instead of mopping.
Because seriously, what if you die next week?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you clean the house, do your laundry, do your food prep, meet with all your clients, write your book that you don't have to write yet, prepare for your class that you don't have to prepare for? I'm talking to myself right now, coaching myself, by the way. When you could be like my mom last night. I went and hung out with my mom last night, and I showed her Memoji. I was like, you don't have Memoji? And she's like, no. She never does her updates, right? She thinks updates are evil. So I did her update, and I showed it to her. We spent like an hour laughing, putting like a beard on her, and like changing her glass. And when I left, she said like 3 times, thank you so much for making time for me. And I thought, well, shit, I didn't make time for my mom. My cousin actually canceled on me, so then I had an opening.
Oh, no.
I know. Trust me, I know. If my mom's watching this, she's going to kill me. But that's a problem that I have. You know, I am so scheduled.
Right.
You know, mostly my weekends are mostly free.
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep them work free. It's probably not going to happen for a while now that we got that other business, but...
So we have a system, like, so for the work stuff, it doesn't, the things that I can't miss, the scheduled things with other people go on the calendar. Okay. And then, like we've talked about before, us using Asana, a task manager, where just things that need to get done go. And there is a bit of a hierarchy there where there's a section of things that are like today's tasks, which a lot of them are not just came from today. They're from things yesterday I should have gotten done, but there's today tasks. But then there's also just upcoming, like things that are in there because they're going to show up in today, like 3 days from now, they're going to show up in the today section. Okay. And then there's just other ones that are just later, which is kind of like, well, if you get through all the today's stuff, you can go down there and just go to later. I know where
my stuff is on these lists now.
And like, I never get to later. How do I get on the today list? There's everything that has to get done goes on the today list, and I never look at the later list. But there is a later list. So if it was like, if I wanted to write a book, it needs to go on the later list, and at some point, I know that that's something I can do, but only when the today stuff is done. But same with at home, this sort of happens because my wife is a big fan of lists, and so she is able to help us stay on track with this, where there's a list of what needs to be done. Listen, we have to go buy groceries, we need to clean up the front room, we need to do this, we need that, and do that. And there's almost perpetually a list just sitting on the counter of things that need to get done. And so it's not in our calendar, but it's like, here's the most important things that need to be addressed, and we're going to try and check off 7 out of 9 of them today, and we'll see how that goes. But tomorrow they'll be on the top of the list, and we can add some new things. But if you actually schedule them in, to me that seems really rigid. And when my son's like, no, read me a story, then I can't be like, no, it's in my calendar that I have to go mop the floor. So,
and for the record, I wouldn't say that to a kid either.
No, it wouldn't be a good idea.
But I know a lot of people who are huge fans of lists, and I myself really love that whole experience of checking something off.
Do you add things to a list that weren't on the list? Add it just to check it off. Yeah.
But here's...
Oh, I got so upset with my wife one day when I completed a task that was on my list, and then she saw that I'd done it, and she'd checked it off. I'm like, what are you doing? I did it. That was my item. I check off my...
I bet she supported you doing it somehow.
You can't check off things I did. I check off my things.
That's so funny.
It's very satisfying.
I let my clients use lists, but I tell them they have to put it
in the calendar?
In their calendar.
Oh.
Well, just hear me out here.
Okay.
If your morning calendar is like, feed the kids, get them ready for school, etc. Before that, I hope you have some morning routine time to really set your intentions for the day. But during work, your calendar could just say work 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then at work, you work off a list.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you don't want to have, and people are like, well, duh, I'm at work 9 to 5. But if you're a business owner, that's not usually true.
No.
Especially in the beginning or when you're growing or whatever. But if you have a doctor's appointment at 4 o'clock, and if you, working off of a list, I think you have to have the time scheduled to work on the list. That's my opinion anyways.
Right. You have to know when is list working time. I get that.
I know. I hear how that sounds, but I stick to that.
No, yeah, for sure. And that's something my wife and I are talking about today, is I need to be better at incorporating my work schedule, like how I normally do my Monday to Friday and start putting some of that into the weekend, because I do expect to be able to work a little amount on the weekend. Like there's just some maintenance stuff because we do a lot of social media that I just can't check out for the weekend. I need to do some amount of work, like 1-2 hours maybe. But I kind of have just been like, well, I know I need to, I'll just like fit it in when it seems like a good time, and then it just never happens. And I like hate weekends because by Sunday night I'm just like, there's so many things I was supposed to get done and it hasn't happened. And especially like we're just coming off a long weekend. By last night I'm just like, I can't wait to get back to work because I have so much stuff to do. So I need to bring some of that Monday to Friday scheduling into my weekend, just so it's like, okay, Sunday morning I'm gonna get up a little earlier and I'm just unavailable till 10 because I need to get this stuff done or something.
Do you like to work on the weekends?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the cool thing about our podcast. I think on almost every topic, when I hear what you have to say, I think, what? It's so different from how I thought of it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I think it's really good. But when I saw your Facebook post and you were saying like, here's a list of all the things that I want to get fit into a day.
Yeah.
I never thought of it from that point of view, and I certainly didn't think about it from the point of view of a parent because I'm not one.
Right.
But what I was trying to share was what I wanted us to talk about was to help business owners be less stressed and less overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's necessarily about fitting all the tasks, but to me, it's about feeling good no matter what you're doing. So if you like to work on the weekends and scheduling, you know, like 7 a.m. till 10 a.m. on a Sunday feels good to you, awesome. But for me, I'm like, one of the ways that I really beat stress and overwhelm was to get 2 phones.
Right.
Because I am available to my clients between meetings, right? And I want to be, and I love that, like email, text, call. But when I only had 1 phone, if I was checking my phone, let's say at 9 p.m. to see if my brother had texted me, I would also see an email or a text from a client that, you know, even if I only see the first 3 words, my brain just starts going.
Yeah. What could the rest of it say?
Oh my goodness.
And then you have to read it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my clients just are aware that, you know, they have access to me, you know, normal office hours, and I check my work phone.
Yeah.
Usually till like 6 or 7 at night, but in the evenings and the weekends, this was a deal I had with my husband because his love language is quality time. And for him, when I'm sitting beside him on the couch working, for some reason that doesn't count as quality time.
What?
It doesn't make sense to me. But these quality time types, I don't know. So anyways, 2 phones. Like this is my work phone and it stays at the office usually. And then this is my personal phone. But even if I have my work phone in my purse, I can choose not to look at it.
Right.
And it's just setting that boundary for me has really helped because the minute I know that one of my clients is reaching out to me, I feel I need to look what it is and I need to solve it and I want to help. But nobody expects me to get back to them at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. No. But I feel like if they feel like they want to unload or vent or text or email, they should be able to. And I just decided not to look at that until Monday morning. So that was one thing that I did. But see how different that is? Yeah. You're like, I just need to work a bit more on weekends. And I'm like, what? Work on weekends?
I love doing that because then Monday afternoon I can guilt-free leave at 4 p.m. and go make supper and be at home. I would rather work a bit on weekends and work less weekdays. I mean, overall, I'm still probably going to work 50 hours a week or something, but that's reasonable to me because I enjoy working, and that's part of building something, right? Is you're not going to do huge, enormous, great things by working 35 hours a week. I don't think there's just an element of working hard. But
you got it wrong. It's 4-hour work week.
Right. 4 hours. Yeah. We're all going to be millionaires with a 4-hour work week. So yeah, I enjoy working a small amount on the weekend, but I just need to actually schedule it rather than thinking I'm going to find an opportunity to wedge it in because there's never going to be one.
Which creates stress and overwhelm.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my point with the list. Yeah. If you only work off lists, which I used to do, and I used to be like the sticky note queen, like the wall would be covered with sticky notes, the counter. But when you have like sticky notes, text messages, emails, Asana, and other sort of to-do piles. I heard it called gathering points before.
Okay.
If you have a bunch of gathering points, like there's emails that are gathering, text messages gathering, sticky notes. Oh, I used to have a to-do pile. That was the worst.
To-do pile.
You didn't know what was in the pile, but it was a pile.
Right.
So when you have more than one place full of stuff that you need to do, it's incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah.
But if you only have one place, your calendar. And for me, if you have, let's say you have a task manager in Asana, or you have a stack of client files you need to get through, if there's something in your calendar that says work on client files, then you go get the stack of client files and put them on your desk. But other than that, everything should be put away. That's another thing that helps me a lot, is one thing at a time.
Yes. Yeah.
One thing, only one thing. One tab on the computer, one file on my desk, one person, you know?
Yeah, we're kind of trying to figure out that point in our office right now, because we have a very open plan, like co-work style. Just pull up a chair at a desk or at a table and work off your laptop. And one of the reasons for that is not just because I like how it looks, it's fun, but that I don't want dedicated workspaces, because then you just put sticky notes on things and photos and stacks of papers, and there's just a place that's yours to leave stuff. And I don't want that. I don't want a station with just like things stacked up, because I know that will happen. But when you have the mentality that this is a shared space, like this table that all four of us are working on is a shared space. So at the end of the night, that table has to be clear. Like there's some empty Post-it notes sitting there, and maybe like one page of notes that you know you're going to reference right away tomorrow, that can stay there. But other than that, like everything has to be clear, and it's just goes in your bag, or it's just in your laptop and you close it and put it away or whatever, so that we don't have those workspaces. Because I see other people's offices and you walk into their little like cubicle thing, and I was like, oh my god, how do you work like this? There's just stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't work like that. But at the same time, I acknowledge that there isn't I don't feel like there's as much productivity with the co-work open style as what I'd hoped there would be. And I think we would maybe be a bit more productive if we actually had dedicated workspace, just for the fact that we could have a desktop set up, or we could have multiple monitors, or just more than a laptop to work off of. But I need to figure out that balance where you can have a productive workstation without it being a place to just be a catch-all for papers and to-do lists. And
yeah, because my thing is, use your file cabinet and use your email folders in your inbox the same way.
Yeah.
Like, file everything in alphabetical order, or whatever makes sense to you, and only get it out when you're working on it. And you only work on it when it's in your calendar.
So we do a lot of stuff on paper as far as just like planning and notes, and just, you know, we're going over a website together, and, you know, edits that need to be done to the Shopify store that we're working on. And just me and Lindsay, who's going to be working on it, will go over it and with just like a sheet of paper and like make notes and draw little diagrams and be like, this is what we need to do. And then you need to take that and go work with it. Woo, shaky. So that's what we work off of often. And so you need that piece of paper with you for the next week while you finish that task. So that's the thing, though. Where do you put that? I would argue that
you put that in a file folder and then get it back out when you work on it. But I'm very, 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 very particular about like a clean workspace.
Yeah.
But that's because this is kind of a secret. Hopefully none of my clients are watching.
Secret.
Ever since I was a kid, I have had the most active imagination.
Okay.
I just have fairy tales in my head. It's crazy. So I have to work very hard at focusing on one thing at a time.
Right.
If I have, you know how some people have like 85 tabs open?
Yes.
If you have like
That's
the
me.
inbox tab. Oh, sorry guys. The inbox tab right here.
Yeah.
You know how it says like, if you have any new emails, it has that number in brackets, and then it's like 2, 3, 4. Oh man, I would not be able to focus on this at all if I knew that emails were coming in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But look, you can just pin it. This is how I do it. And then it doesn't have room for it. Then I still have all the tabs open, but it's shrunk down to that small, and you can't see how many are coming in, or if you have Facebook notifications or whatever else.
Oh, that's another thing. Thank you for saying that. All my notifications are off. I have no idea if I have any text messages, emails, phone calls, Facebook notifications, anything, unless I go into that app.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, like even earlier when I was trying to find your post,
yeah,
I'm in there and I'm like, why am I in here? Why am I on Facebook? We're about to start a podcast. And you're like, I was looking for your post. But do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. And maybe other people are better at concentrating than me, but I've read a lot of stuff, you know, saying that in the past few years we've become very easily distracted.
Yeah.
And I know the ideal work block time is like deep focused work on one thing at a time. It's like 50 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work for like 50 minutes on one thing, then you put that away, you take a little break. That's the best way to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of have to be connected due to how we do our job, being a lot on social media.
Yeah, totally.
But what I had to do, because I'll get notifications, and then because I'm checking them, you already have social media open, and then it just can be too easy just to like scroll a little bit, like what's happening here. So I just on the weekend bought a Wear OS watch, and that's like one of the biggest reasons I wanted to, was that it will only give me the notification. I can't browse. Like, I'll get the Facebook notification and I see what the comment is. I'll get the Twitter follow. I'll get whatever. I get that on my watch, but I can't browse there. I can just like reply or just clear the notification. I would still have to pull out my phone to browse. So it separates the notification from the browsing.
Interesting.
But that's literally been the only useful functionality of this thing so far. I feel like I want to return it. I think the smartwatch is like overrated, but we're only a few days in. We're seeing, it's an experiment, and I just like that I can customize the colors to match what I'm wearing.
It is pretty.
Like that?
What? How?
Like the burgundy that match my pants, and like the light gray to match my shirt, so my watch matches what I wear.
It's very coordinated of you.
That was the most valuable part of the watch.
Well, for me, I have all my notifications off. I just like seeing my heart rate and how many calories I burn and stuff like that. But
yeah, I don't care about that part.
All my clients, you know who you are, they have their notifications off for our meetings, but all of a sudden I'll see them go, just look down at their watch. I'm like, I know you just got a buzz. Like, your notifications are not off. Okay, so you manage your notifications so that you can't browse, but I completely don't get notifications.
Yeah, I'm working on that, yeah.
But I do acknowledge, when I talk, I'm always talking from the point of view of when you're a successful, systemized, where you want to be business owner, but that's from my point of view. I want to be at a place where I don't have to get notifications because that's distracting for me. But there's a lot of business owners like you who part of your role that you like doing, that you want to do, is connected, is very responsive. Yeah. So that's just for me. Like, that's my, and I know a lot of people, well, I even said it the other day, you know, if you're on Facebook or Instagram or other social media channels, like, I just sent a message actually to a business in town a couple days ago. I still haven't heard back. They haven't even, I just got the automatic reply. But when I send a message on Facebook, I expect to hear back faster.
Right.
You know, so I acknowledge that people who have those kind of roles do have to be on there.
Need to be connected. Yeah. It's a career choice. It's something I know that is just part of what I do. It's not a problem. I can't expect it of my employees, though, right? Like, it's tough to say.
Distracting.
Right? I require you to be able to answer this Facebook message that someone sends one of our clients whenever it comes in. Yeah. Like, that's not really something I feel like I can require of them, so that usually means that I will pick up that. So
strategic objectives. So another thing that I think will help decrease stress and overwhelm. The way I usually start is I ask my clients, what are your big personal goals? And I tell them, say anything you want, because the idea of having this business is to afford you the freedoms and to achieve the goals that you have personally. So if they say, I want to have this much money, I want to spend this much time with my family, you know, let's just use those two examples, then we take those goals and we translate them into strategic objectives for the business. So maybe a certain revenue goal for the business, or a certain profit goal for the business, a systemization goal for the business.
Okay.
So whatever you want, I try to create strategic objectives in the business to achieve what you want.
Yeah.
And having those and having them somewhere prominent, I find really helps, because we remember that these are our three big goals. So when somebody approaches you with an opportunity, or you have to make a decision, or even, you know, when your employees have an idea, and you don't want to say no because they're your employees and it's so good, you have to really look at what are our three main strategic objectives for the year. Will this accomplish them? I know this is a totally off track thing, but I just want to mention this really quick. If somebody does have an idea like your employee and you don't want to say no, because I think saying no is a very important part of not being stressed or overwhelmed, I think if you can have a further conversation where you try to identify like a common goal, you can usually get to what they want. Do you know what I mean?
To swap in and be a proxy for the original one.
So what do you think about that? Being clear on your goals, that helps me not be stressed.
I think that's really important. There was a recent, we were looking to acquire a business, and it was something that I was excited about, and you just want to say yes to, because I'm like, this could be great, we could do such amazing things. But then in a conversation with my accountant about our goals and past decisions we've made that are like the exact opposite of what I would be taking on, it's like, why are you wanting to do this? This does not meet your goals and where you want to take this company. So it's just being really strategic so that you know when to say no. And I'm having to say that more, just especially I don't know, when you have a brand that starts to become identified as someone who is able to help or is willing to speak at things or teach or consult or just answer people's questions. Like I just get DMs on Facebook all the time, like as if we're like the Facebook support desk. Like, hey, how do you do this thing?
Oh, really?
It's like, you can just ignore it long enough that they get the point that you're probably not the person to just shoot messages to. But then you do answer them like a day later, and then, you just have to try and, I don't know what the answer is to that. I just like answer when I can and not make it a priority. That's all. But yeah, we just have that kind of brand reputation where we do, like I speak at a lot of things and I teach a lot, and it's just trying to learn which ones I should accept and not just be saying yes to all of them. I'm having to say no a lot more.
I think actually you do know the answer to this because you did this with me. I think managing expectations is a really big part of managing stress and overwhelm. Sorry, I'm shaking this again. So the people who are messaging you on Facebook, just personally asking you messages, I don't know, like one question in their whole life maybe, but this is what you do for a living. So if people are doing that, I feel like they should have the sense to know that that's not appropriate. Or at least say, how do you charge for this? Like, can I pay you for a monthly support fee? But anyways, with clients like me, for example, our relationship is a bit muddled because we do a podcast together. We're friends. You're also doing big projects for us. We also have an ongoing contract with you. So I think it was like was it the day we were snowed in? I decided to work anyways. And I was like, I found this report and I found this research. And I was just like, I must have sent you 11 emails. And that was just the one day, right? And so then on the following Tuesday when we had a podcast, you're like, hey, I just want to talk about our communication level. Right. And we had a conversation where you're like, sort of the amount of communication I'm getting from you is more like the biggest client I've ever had sort of level. But that's not really what we're doing. And so we were just able to have that conversation. And I was able to realize, I think because we're friends, I was just like, zing, 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 sending all this stuff, right? But now that we had that conversation, Laura and I both are more intentional, where I'll make myself a list of things I want to ask you. And usually by the time we meet, they're already answered. So I don't have to email you. But I never would have changed that if you hadn't had that conversation with me. So I think setting expectations, is really, really important. And for people like me who love you to death and want to have a great relationship, we just need to know. Right.
So that's probably another avoid stress and beat the overwhelmedness thing, is figuring out where you're spending time that maybe you don't need to be at all. Is maybe that's pushing back on something that is requiring your time that you shouldn't be giving your time to, and like that might involve another person, or it might just be an activity that for whatever reason you've decided is important in your business. But if you take a better look at your strategy and what you're working towards, maybe it's not that important. Like, and maybe you just need to shut down the Twitter account for your business because you're spending time there and you don't need to be. Just being critical about where you're spending the time.
I think
making cuts.
Yeah. So managing expectations, that's super important. Another thing I just thought of though, a lot of people that I sit down with who work way too much, they are making decent money, like fairly good money. I have one example in mind from 4 years ago, construction company, super, super successful, but he worked way too much. His family wanted him home more. He was always stressed out. Business wasn't systemized enough to run without him. But, it looked like very, very good money. But when we divided the profit by the number of hours he put in a year, it was $4 an hour.
Oh my God.
So that sticks in my mind all the time, because this person was like, they had everything they wanted, safe, nice retirement fund set up, extra money to play with, like things were going really well. But when
they're working 100
they're
hours
working
a week
to death. Yeah. So I would look at, and here's another reason I'm a big fan of the calendar. If you adjust your calendar every day for what actually happened, like if I stay here an hour late and you change your event to show that we were here 2 hours instead of 1, when we go back, and I do this with all my clients before I decide to give them another proposal for another year, how much time did you spend per year, per month, per week on certain clients, certain projects, and then how much time did you spend that was $0 an hour? Yeah. And are you okay with that? Because there's a lot of volunteering. My quick tip. Oh, yes. You always somehow know what my notes say, so.
Do you have more for our general conversation?
Jocelyn's my behind the scenes. She sent it to me. She's on my team now.
Oh, man.
No, she didn't. No. Are you ready
Should
for
we
quick
go
tips?
to quick tip?
Can I make sure I didn't miss anything?
Okay.
I was very excited about this. Oh, the budget. You have to have a budget.
Okay.
And review it every month. Policies and procedures, job descriptions, key performance indicators. These are also important, and they seem like they're not that important because they're not urgent.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have them and you have things automated and systemized, like if someone's asking you the same question over and over again, make a procedure or make a frequently asked questions document and have that available.
Yeah. That's a tough thing to decide you need to invest your time on when you're already like, I don't have time just to keep my business operating, and then to somehow pull back and be like, let's turn this thing I'm doing into a procedure and take up more time. But it's like an investment in saving that time in the future. Yes.
And most people will not make the time when they're busy to do this, but that's why most people fail. Like yeah.
And it's not like you have to procedurize, whatever the word is, your entire business in a month and be like, okay, we need procedures. No. Okay, we need to procedure everything. One at a time. So that's what we're doing. Everything, any major project we're taking on, it's like, well, let's just take the extra few minutes per step and turn it into a procedure. So right now we're onboarding a new client onto ActiveCampaign because we use that CRM quite frequently. So it's like, well, let's make a procedure so that in the future we know exactly what all of the steps are. We're never going to miss one. We know what order it makes sense to do them in, what questions we need to ask from the client in the first meeting so that we can do step 8 without having to reach back out to them. So we're turning that into procedure. But I'm not trying to procedurize every single thing we do. It's just like, let's just do the one we're working on right now while we're working on it, and then the next time we're working on something else, let's make a procedure for that.
That was a sigh of contentment.
I know. It should make you so happy.
I have to tell you something very nerdy.
Okay.
You can also make procedures at home.
Okay.
So there's a
system. This is where Tim's sitting beside you wanting quality time.
Tim can never hear this.
And you're procedurizing your business.
No, it's not as bad as you think.
Okay.
But everything, if you can have a system or a procedure, it just makes your life so much easier. So for example, if you use the last of something, write it on the grocery list.
Right.
That's a procedure. You know, little things like that. I know I'm a huge nerd. Okay, meditate.
Okay.
Breathe, exercise, eat healthfully, and sleep. Those things, huge. If you're not sleeping enough, you eat like crap, you don't exercise.
Yeah.
It's very hard for you to feel not stressed and not overwhelmed. And then you're just perpetuating the vicious cycle of getting sick.
Yeah. And again, those are things that when you're busy, you're like, I don't have time to do that. But it's taking the time that helps you get through it.
You're never going to have the
time. I'm all like, for years, I've been like, I don't have time to go to the gym. But I have a wife who's a fitness junkie, and that's our life. And
You're so lucky.
I'm like it's becoming more important to me.
Yeah.
And I just upped my plan to going 4 times a week instead of 3 times a week. So we're like trying to get to the gym more.
Is that in the calendar?
It is.
Ooh.
I have it on my calendar.
2 more quick things.
Okay.
Laugh and cheer when you were saying it earlier. So for me, perpetually setting new goals. I used to be crazy about my weight and calories and things like that. Thank God that's over. But as soon as I would hit a goal, I wouldn't even celebrate. I would just go into my FitnessPal app and change it to be a better goal.
Right.
No celebration, no patting myself on the back, no cheering.
Okay.
And so, you know, I'm a big fan of counseling and mentorship. And this is something that's come up for me over and over again. You have to celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
You have to pat yourself on the back, because if you don't, what's the point in achieving anything?
Yeah.
You don't even let yourself have fun or celebrate or whatever. And then laughing. Seriously, some days when you look at how much stuff happened and things went wrong and, you know, if you can just laugh about it and realize, especially for me, how ridiculous it is to get so stressed out about something. Like the towels are messy. Oh my God. Oh, have a meltdown for sure. That's worth a meltdown. Yeah.
We're lucky to have a pretty lighthearted workplace. So we end up laughing quite a bit.
It's awesome here.
Okay.
I think that's my whole
You got
list.
them?
Yeah.
Okay, those are all the things. Maybe I'll try. Maybe you should send that to me, and then we could summarize it and actually put it in the notes for the show, so we can be like, here's the 11 things or whatever you got there, 8 things, something that you can do to reduce stress. Quick tips. My quick tip is you teased it with what you were saying. I use a different method. You were saying when something happens, move your calendar to reflect what actually happened. I say, like, we use an app called Toggl, Toggl, to track our time, because I actually use it to do time cards for the employees too. So they have to have their time tracked, so that if they don't get paid for those hours. So you have to be tracking your time, but it can be all set based on whatever you're working on, whether it's by client, and even some clients have different tasks within the client. So everyone has their time tracked, and I have my own time tracked. And like you said, even the time that you're not being paid for, I have breaks and commutes in there. I have lunches in there. I have whatever, learning, like I have different things in there, so I know how much time I'm spending on that. So I use this frequently, is going back, especially just month end. I just look back on client stuff for sure and just say like, oh, we put 60 hours into this client collectively, we put this many hours here, and realizing who I need to cut hours back from, and not feeling bad about it, because I know how much I charge them, and I'm like, oh man, we gave them way too many hours last month. We need to pull back to something more reasonable. And then you can kind of breathe your sigh of relief, like, man, I feel so overworked, I don't have time to do this. But realizing like that's because you gave them too much time. Like, pull it back. They don't need that much for how much you're charging them. So that has been extremely beneficial for cutting back hours on clients and on tasks that you do, and having a justification for it, so you don't have to feel guilty about it. It's like, no, I put too many hours into this, we need to not spend that much time on this.
Or have a conversation and have them buy a different package, a bigger package or whatever, right?
Yep.
Because I think that's a really good opportunity for like either scaling back or upgrading a client. You know, I think you need this level of support. Yeah.
So that's my quick tip, is using Toggle to do that, because you can quickly set up all different sorts of tasks, and just, it's very easy. You can have an app on your phone to just open it and be like, no, I'm working on this now, tap it, and it starts the timer on that instead. And you can just look whenever you want and look back and audit and see where you've been spending your time.
Awesome.
And it helps you make better decisions on where to spend it in the future.
Okay.
Of
course, my quick tip is two things, one of which is use your calendar. But the second was to post those strategic objectives.
Okay.
Or the personal goals. If you have your big 3 goals somewhere and you're remembering, I forgot to mention know your why, but we talked about that last week.
Yeah, that was last week.
Yeah, so if you have, those 3 strategic objectives, or your 3 personal goals, or even one goal somewhere, and you sort of glance at it or see it or are reminded of it, it becomes a lot. I don't want to incite a riot here, but you're choosing to be stressed and you're choosing to be overwhelmed. The whole concept of like, you only feel bad when you're like resisting, you're not accepting.
Right.
So you have to choose to be less stressed and less overwhelmed. You have to choose to think differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that's episode 13 of Business Can Be Better, about beating stress and avoiding feeling overwhelmed. And we'll be back live on YouTube at 6:15 on Tuesdays, 6:15 Mountain Time. And then you can also listen to this, just the podcast version, which is wherever you listen to podcasts. Business Can Be Better. If you're trying to find us on YouTube, because we're new and only have like 5 or 6 subscribers, they're not that easy to find. So you can use the bit.ly link, bit.ly, bit.ly/Better Business Podcast. That's what it is. So you can find it there, and then quickly subscribe and get notified for whenever we go live. So that's another episode. Thanks for listening or watching. And my name is Lane. You can find me on Twitter at Lane_Anderson. Find me on LinkedIn. Just look me up, Lane Anderson. Or on Instagram, Lane B. Anderson.
Barry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
On Instagram, Kelly Ray Tamaki TMH. LinkedIn and Facebook, Kelly Ray Tamaki TMH Business Coaching and Consulting. I think I'd start to be able to remember those, but I have to read them every time. Thanks for watching, Jocelyn. We love you.
Have a good